In the summer of 1812, the U.S. went to war with one of the most powerful nations at the time. Despite claims by the war hawks, the War of 1812 would not be an easy fight. When the war began, the British Navy had hundreds of ships, while the U.S. had fewer than 20. However, most of the ships were scattered across the globe. Also, the U.S. Navy had very well-trained sailors and powerful warships like the USS Constitution. American leaders hoped to follow their victories at sea with an invasion of Canada. 3 attacks were planned from Detroit, from Niagara Falls, and up from Hudson River Valley towards Montreal. The attack from Detroit failed when British soldiers and American Indians captured Fort Detroit. The other attacks also failed because the militia troops refused to cross the Canadian border. In 1813, the U.S. went to attack again. Their goal was to break Britain's control of Lake Erie. They gave this task to Oliver Hazard Perry, who built a small fleet and sailed out, beginning the Battle of Lake Erie. The British surrendered. After this, General Harrison marched his army into Canada, where he ended British power in the Northwest. In the South, Creek Indians were angry at American settlers, so a large force attacked Fort Mims, killing 250 of its defenders. Andrew Jackson collected some volunteers and moved to attack. They won this battle, and it became known as the Battle of the Horseshoe Bend. The Treaty of Fort Jackson was signed, ending the Creek War. The British were angry and attacked Washington, D.C., setting fire to the White House and many more important things. The British then sailed to Baltimore, which was guarded by Fort Cheney, and chose to retreat instead of fighting. The Battle of New Orleans was an American victory in the War of 1812. It took place on January 8, 1815, and was the last major battle of the war. General Andrew Jackson led the American forces. The British, numbering around 5,300, attacked Jackson's 4,500 troops. The British marched towards the American defenses, but were caught in the open and suffered heavy casualties. Over 2,000 British soldiers were killed or wounded, while the Americans suffered only about 70 casualties. After this, a peace treaty was signed. Before the Battle of New Orleans, a group of New England Federalists gathered secretly at Hartford Convention. They agreed to oppose the war, but before the delegates reached Washington, news came that the war had ended. Some critics now laughed at the Federalists, and the party lost much of its political power. On December 15, 1814, delegates from 5 states met secretly at the Old State House in Hartford. They met for 3 weeks to draft a formal protest against the nation's involvement in the War of 1812. The Federalists wanted peace with the British. Slow communication meant that neither the Federalists nor Jackson knew about the Treaty of Ghent, which was signed in Belgium on December 24, 1814, ending the War of 1812. The war resulted in the feel of patriotism in Americans for standing up. This war also boosted American manufacturing.